Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In my video earlier today, I looked at this absolutely brilliant TS3 cell on the NQ. If I place the analysis on here, you can see how it came down to the first target very nicely for an absolutely massive 10.5 hour profit, which was a very nice trade indeed. I want to have a look at the other US minis because I only skipped over them very quickly in my last video. So I suggest you first look at my video earlier today to see the details on this TS3 cell setup on the NQ, how it is in the direction of the large degree trend, and as such was a good trade to take. But in the video I suggested these DPs buys as of the low of the day here were not good ones to take, because if we go to the 15-minute chart, you can see that the actual large degree trend was down. This was the DP resistance that caught the high on the previous day, the 6th, and if we go back down to this pivot here, you can see that we hadn't quite reached DP support on the NQ. So just look at the NQ in isolation. The best trade to take was that 3-minute TS3 sell on the short side there, down to the first target for a 10.5 hour profit. But what I didn't look at in detail, and I want to cover a bit more in this video, was on the other markets. So let's look at the ES. Remember, for more experienced users, we don't use the STF color. We actually go to the higher time frame charts, and I'll show you why. In fact, this is a brilliant example of how the higher time frame charts do help in your support and resistance calculations. So let's go out to the 15-minute chart and have a look at that. As you can see, the ES was declining down nicely, but just as in the NQ, you'd have gone back to the previous low, which was here. You'd have right mouse click, placed the DP on, and this would have given you a potential support zone. Now you must remember that these DP zones are on the chart in advance, so before the market even got down to this level, you knew that this was a potential support zone. If we now go down to the 3-minute chart, can you see how this DP support zone, or this 15-minute support zone, nailed the low of the day for you? So what does that mean for your trades on the ES in particular? Well, these buy setups here were still in the large degree downtrend because they hadn't reached this 15-minute support. However, when we got to the lows of the day, can you see how there were two setups here at our DP support? So these ones were ones you could have considered if you're more experienced. And notice how that even the STF is red. This catches the low quicker, or the reversal quicker, because they're on the chart in advance. So let's right mouse click over this first buy setup, place the analysis on. You can see you'd have been taken in long for 4 contracts. That's our position sizing. Again, 2% risk on a sample $20,000 account. Just taken in and then stopped out. Remember, losses can do and will happen. I'll say that again. Losses can do and will happen. This is what every professional trader knows and accepts. However, the losses are kept small by using correct position sizing. So this would be what we call a -1R loss. In other words, 1 risk unit. If I clear the chart off, we had another second or another bite at this at our DP buy setup here, again at our 15-minute support. Right mouse click, place the analysis on. This time the market went up beautifully into the first target where a potential 2.3 hour profit was available. That just shows you why position sizing is great when you're doing trading, because you had one losing trade, one profitable trade. The loss was -1R, the profit was plus 2.3R, and as such made you money overall. But just look where that buy setup came in, right at the low of the day. People say you can't catch highs and lows of the day. Well, it just means they're not using the correct tools. So do you see how with MTPredictor, this 15-minute DP support zone would have been on your chart in advance, in fact actually before yesterday even opened. It would be there waiting as a potential support zone. So you knew the large degree trend was down all day until we reached these support zones a bit later in the day. This then allowed you to take these DP sells, first one being a loss, second one was a nice profit. Similar kind of thing on the YM. There were 2 trade setups there. If I go to the 15-minute chart and have a look at that, exactly the same as the ES. There's the last major pivot low. Right mouse click, there's your DP on the chart. Notice how it didn't get faked out by this first little rally here. So this hadn't reached our 15-minute support zone, therefore the large degree trend was down. The support only came in a bit later in the day. let's go down to the 3-minute chart and see how this looks. Pretty much similar to the ES in that these buy setups early in the day were against the largely downtrend until the market had reached this 15-minute support. We then had 2 buy setups here, again at our 15-minute support. The first one of these, just like the ES, was a losing trade. The second one, again just like the ES, was a profit, this time for plus 2.2R. So in summary for yesterday, it was an absolutely amazing day for MTPredictor in that we called the large degree trend to be down, and as such allowed us to take this TS3 sell on the NQ. That came down to the first target where an absolutely massive 10.5R profit was available. Then on the ES or the YM, depending which one you were trading, there were 2 more buy setups that basically came in at pretty much the low of the day. In fact, the second one nailed the very bar of the low of the day. The first was a losing trade, the second was plus 2.3R, so added to your profit for the day overall. So an absolutely amazing day for MTPredictor yesterday, with a brilliant TS3 sell, netting an absolute massive profit, and more importantly, us having a level on our chart in advance before the market even got there that nailed the very low of the day for you on the ES. So a very good day, and showing you how the tools in MTPredictor would have certainly helped your trading yesterday, and a very good day for MTPredictor users.